Hey FlossTube. Today is Sunday, July 30th, and this is my second FlossTube video. Again, because this will be the third time that I have attempted to film this video. Let's hope that the third time is a charm, right? Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is start off by thanking everyone for the amazing warm welcome that they showed me with my first video. I'm absolutely gobsmacked at the amount of people who came and watched my video, sat for an hour listening to me yammer on and on about cross stitch, which is just insane to think that we really do like to just sit and listen to people talk about their stitching and their thoughts on their stitching, and that's amazing to me. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to make a special request. If you found me because someone else on FlossTube or somebody on Facebook or Instagram made a shout out to me, Felicity Stitches. I'm also Felicity Stitches on Instagram. Please, 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 please do me a favor and leave in your comment below who sent you here so that I can take a moment to say thank you to them for sending you my way and allowing me to be a part of your life and giving us a chance to, commiserate in our stitching. I would really like to be able to say thank you to everyone who has shown me a kindness and gone out of their way to make sure that people know that I'm here, because it's amazing to me. I honestly thought it would be like 4 people watching my video one time, maybe only one of them all the way through, and that would be it. Then I tried to film this video and I started to think it's only going to be one video because I can't seem to figure out how to film the second video, even though I tried to do it the same way as the first one. It's not really working out that way. And there isn't a manual for this, apparently, because I've looked. So it's just a very big learning curve for me, and difficult when I've got so many other balls in the air, so to speak. If I have learned anything from the experience of making a FlossTube video, it's that I completely underestimated what goes into it. Not just from the perspective of preparing to make the video and having things ready and knowing what you're going to say, but also from the perspective of editing and that sort of thing, putting the video up. All I mean to say is, because I have so much going on with my kids, my family, with school, with clinicals, everything, trying to stitch, trying to make these videos now, trying to figure out how to make them properly so that I can get them to you. The prospect of answering every single comment that is ever made to me on every video that I make is overwhelming and daunting, and it makes me not want to make videos anymore. So what I decided is that I'm going to set a precedence right now. I promise I will read every single comment that is left on any of my videos. But going forward, I can't respond to every single comment. There are people who do that, and those people are absolutely amazing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. I will make sure that you know that I've read your comment. I'll like it, I'll love it, I'll give you a sign. Somehow I'll give you a sign. But in terms of being able to respond to every comment, I just can't do it right now with school. If you have a question for me, I will do my very best to answer your question. And if I can respond, I will respond, but I just can't. I love getting the comments. Don't not leave me a comment because I won't be able to respond, but just know that it's possible that I won't be able to, and that's nothing It's nothing personal. It's just something that I have to set as a boundary for myself going forward, because I won't be able to keep up with school and everything else if I'm also trying to respond to all the comments. So thank you again for everything. The next thing that I want to talk about are some thank yous. I got a couple of gifts that were very special, and I want to make sure that I thank those people who took the time to do something kind for me. So if you remember, in my first video, I talked about not being a needle minder person, and the only needle minder I would want is one of those agate slices from Abby Bella Stitch, and she doesn't make them anymore, so I had just resigned myself to the fact that this was never going to happen for me. And then I was reached out to by not only Abby, but also Letitia, the crafty curator, and they both offered to send me one of these needle minders. And I let them know that, you know, I'd gotten a couple of offers, and so that they didn't feel obligated to send me one, and they both wanted to still send me a needle minder, which I just thought was tremendously generous. And so I just wanted to show you what they sent me. So Letitia, who is known as the crafty curator, and if you don't know the crafty curator, you need to know the crafty curator. She's so wonderful. She and I have not exactly the same stitching taste, but I appreciate the things that she stitches so much. They're so beautiful. She has a real love for color. I don't think she's afraid of anything, honestly. I don't think she looks at anything, any stitching project, and thinks to herself, I don't know, that's pretty daunting. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I really think she's probably the most level-headed stitcher on the planet, as far as I can tell. She just thinks, okay, I can do that. How am I going to do that? And she figures it out for herself. So, for instance, she has a whole bunch of videos about stitching a chatelaine that she calls the chatelaine experience. And she literally goes almost in real time and sort of documents the process of her learning curve for stitching chatelaines. And she gives you all the tips and tricks and information that she found out about chatelaines, and to make it easier, I guess, for the rest of us to try to stitch them. But you watch them and you think, oh yeah, I could totally stitch a chatelaine. That would be great. And I think there's something about her essence, her demeanor, that is very calming, and she's knowledgeable. She's really lovely. She's really, really lovely. And I love her as a stitcher, and I love her as a person. I think she's all that and a bag of chips. So she sent me this very sweet card with some very sweet sentiment written in it. She has lovely handwriting. Letitia, you have lovely handwriting. And she sent me these two needle minders. Aren't they gorgeous? And when she had sent me a message saying, I have a needle minder, which one do you like? And I said, oh, they're both beautiful. I like the purple one. She was like, okay. And then a little bit later, she mentioned to me that you can't send stitching things alone. Like, you can't send one lone stitching thing because they get lonely or something. So I got these, and I was absolutely floored and absolutely excited, because the colors are phenomenal, right? Look at that one, matches my glasses. It's perfect. And then the needle minder from Abby showed up, or so I thought, right? So Abby sends me this super cute card. Look at It's all about the coffee, people. Little coffee beans, espresso, with a lovely, again, handwritten note and beautiful handwriting. Again, we almost have identical handwriting, Abby. And her note says that she's sprinkling me with stitchy kindness, which is the movement that Michele Bendy Stitchy started. And I think it's wonderful. And that was my alarm to tell me that it's just about time for me to go to bed. Yes, I set a bedtime alarm. So embarrassing. Okay, so I thought I had put my, hang on one second. I thought I had put my phone on airplane silence, whatever, but apparently that doesn't matter for alarms. So one of the things that she says in her note is that Stash cannot travel alone. They get lonely in transit. And since I've received these gifts, I have now heard other people say this. I didn't know it was a thing, but I love it. Who wouldn't? So she sent me these two needle minders. So I got sort of a wine purple one and a blue one, right? And then this really deep sort of royal purple. And just to show you how beautiful they are, I don't know if that really shows up the color, but look at the back of it. Look at how she finishes her needle minders. First of all, these things are the magnets are so strong. And then she glues these little glass beads on them, and I have to be really careful because I'm afraid it's gonna like fly into the magnet and then break I don't want it to break my my needle minder, but it's beautiful, isn't it? Oh God, I love it. Looks like a smile. I don't know. So I love it. I love the needle minders. Thank you, Letitia. Thank you, Abby. Not to be outdone though, Miss Abby sends me a couple more things because, you know, you don't want your stuff to get lonely in transit. So here, she sends me Dinky Dye Silks. My first Dinky Dye Silks. Look at how pretty. Those are showing up very true to color. I really like these two. This one, these two are my absolute favorites, right? I love those. My daughter goes, "Hey, Mommy, love that bright green. That's my favorite." So I might have to find something to stitch for her in the bright green. They are so soft. I've never felt anything like it. They're just beautiful. I have no idea what I'm going to stitch with them, but 100% silk. I want to like rub it on my face or something. So soft. So there's that. And then, yes, there's more. She sends me a piece of 13 by 18, 32 count Lugana barnwood by Picture This Plus. Is that modeling just the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen? And then here's the other side. I don't even know, does it have a wrong and a right side? Does anybody know? Again, also very soft, and this is my first piece of Picture This Plus fabric, and it's beautiful. And I'm really excited to find something to stitch on it. I have no idea what that will be, but I am certain that if I continue to watch Abby's FlossTube channel and follow her Instagram, she stitches so many beautiful things, I will find something. So again, Thank you, Abby. So generous. I love everything and I appreciate it so much. And Letitia, thank you so much for offering up your needle minders and the sweet card. I loved it. I love you. I have love. And then I have one other gift to talk about, but I didn't ask this person if I could mention their name. And going forward, I'm going to say that unless you tell me not to mention your name, I'm going to mention your name. But this person and I never had a conversation about it, and so I don't want to make her uncomfortable. But a very kind person who watched my video, who lives in Texas, offered to send me some charts. Okay? Sure. You can send me some charts. I was honestly expecting a couple charts, 2 or 3 charts, right? She can't stitch them anymore, and she wanted them to go to the home of a stitcher who would stitch them, or at least someone who could help find homes for them, right? I get a 9-pound box of patterns in the mail. It's enormous. I would go through it, but it would take forever, and I don't even know that I'm going to be able to get this on YouTube. So amazing. All full of single patterns, booklets with patterns, a couple of magazines, all vintage, lots of Christmas. There's some dragons in there, which would be great for my son, and some sports themed things, and just very sweet, very lovely, very, very, very generous. And I just want to say thank you so much. It was so kind of you. And I was just so touched and floored that you would be so kind as to send me that much of your stash. I mean, that's amazing to me. So I promise, if I can't stitch it, I'll find somebody who can. I will find a home for those patterns. So thank you very, very much. You know who you are. And I think that's it for my housekeeping type stuff. I have some notes here that I'm trying to follow. Okay, so we're gonna go through whips. Perennial border. I didn't do anything on perennial border, so I'm not gonna show it. But thank you so much for all of your kind comments from the last video. I really appreciate it. It is one of my favorite whips. I find that I have to be, there's some whips that you can stitch on, you could just be tired, whatever, distracted, and they're fine. And then there's other projects that you really have to be focused on them. And I think part of it is because of the specialty stitch component to that one. You really just have to be sort of focused. Even if it's just for 15-20 minutes, you have to be focused. And sometimes I don't even have 15-20 minutes of focus left in me by the end of the day. So I haven't stitched on that one. The next one is Quaker Stitches by Jeanette Douglas. And that's an easy one to stitch, but I just haven't gotten it out. It's larger and it doesn't travel well, and so I just haven't stitched on it. But I did look at it the other day and thought that I was actually closer to a finish than I thought I was, and so I'm thinking I might at some point I might make that a focus piece for myself, because focus pieces seem to be all the rage right now. So I might do that. I might make the Jeanette Douglas a focus piece, and then hopefully I'll get that finished and I can start something new. The next one is my Hardanger, which is a Hardanger along, sort of like a stitch along, with Stitching with a Smile. She has her own YouTube channel and she posts video step-by-step tutorials on how to stitch Hardanger, and so far it's been very easy until I got to the blanket stitch, which I'm telling you was the bane of my existence for several days, and I had to put it into timeout. So I'm just going to show you here. Let's see, hang on, where I got. So that's it. And the blanket stitch is this border right here, okay? And I'll try to bring it in a little bit closer so that you can see it. I'm telling you guys, what a freaking nightmare this was for me to try and stitch. And it's not so much the stitch itself. The stitch itself is actually quite simple to do. It's the spacing and the counting that goes along with doing a corner this way and then a corner this way and then a corner this way and a corner this way. And the thing is that if you screw it up, you know, you're going to do all sorts of cut work in here. And if I screw it up, I could screw up the cut work. So it really has to be perfect, I feel like. And what I was doing was, you know, I'll work really hard on homework or whatever, and then I'll say, oh, I'm going to treat myself to some stitching time. And I would sit down to do this because I'm so far behind right now, and I just want to catch up to Ingeborg, a stitch too far, and I'm never going to catch up to her. So I would sit and I would try to do this, and I would get so frustrated that I would literally throw it down and be like, I'm going to go study because this is just driving me crazy. And it would actually be, it was like a stress break from stitching to go and study. And that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So I put this in timeout for almost a week. And boy, I'll tell you what a difference timeout makes. It's not just for preschoolers. Okay, I have found that sometimes you just need fresh eyes, I guess, to look at something. So you need to just put it away, put it down, let it go, focus on something else, don't think about it. And then when you come back to it, it all seems to make sense when it didn't make sense before. So that's what happened with this. I was struggling with figuring out how to turn corners. When I figured out how to turn corners, then I was trying to figure out how to stop a thread and start a new thread. And I couldn't figure that out. And so I was like, man, I tossed it. I mean, I didn't actually toss it, but I thought about doing it. And put it in timeout for almost a week. Came back, turning corners like a pro, starting and stopping threads like a pro. So I think I can get that border done. The goal was to get it done tonight. As you just heard my night timer, that's probably not going to happen because I'm trying to film this video, but I think I can get it done this week. I think that'll be my goal. So there's my Hardanger along. And if you guys haven't seen Ingeborg's on A Stitch Too Far, it's gorgeous. Go check out her Instagram. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. It inspires me every time I see it to just keep trucking along because I want something that pretty too. The next whip that I have, you guys will remember, is my chatelaine. That's it. So that's the entire center piece, and it's roughly, I would say, an inch and a half square-ish. I guess it's not totally square, but and we're gonna have ourselves a little discussion about 1/1 here in a little bit, but let's just talk about it right now because this is all 1/1. And what I have learned that I want to share with you about 1/1 in the last week or two is that it's a lot like pointillism, which is an art movement, if you remember. So pointillism is when you make a picture with a bunch of little dots. And the most famous piece of art that I can think of that is an example of pointillism is Seurat is the name of the artist. Is it George? Georges Seurat, Seurat, French, of course, I'm sure. And he did a painting that was a bunch of little dots, and when you get up on top of it, it's a big smushy mess, right? But as you pan away from it, it stops being a bunch of little dots and it starts looking like a thing. And that's his painting. I'll insert a couple of pictures here, but you get right up on top of it and it looks like a bunch of dots. And when you step away from it, step back, get some perspective, if you will, it's a picture. It's a beautiful picture. And the painting I am thinking of is one of a bunch of picnickers on the side of a hill on a sunny day. I want to say it's called Sunday in the Park or something. I don't know. I'll put a picture in right here. Isn't that beautiful? So I feel like 1/1 is like that. Up close, it's really not much. It's a bunch of dots. Step back, really beautiful. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So the only thing, so that was the only 1/1 portion of this design. This is a 6x6 Q-snap, and the whole piece itself I think ends up being like maybe 3.5 by 3.5 inches. So what's left to do are regular cross stitches over 2 and back stitching, specialty stitching, and beads. So, you know, not much. It'll probably take me the whole rest of this year and into next year to finish this because of school and stuff, but that's okay. It gives me something to do, right? Now, I have an almost finish, and the reason it's an almost finish is because it's a birth sampler, and you can't exactly finish a birth sampler until you have a birth, right? And that's not scheduled for another few months. Baby's due in November. So if you will remember, I am stitching Eleanor Rigby, part of the Magical Mystery Tour series. It's actually the first one in the Magical Mystery Tour series by Blackbird Designs. And I am stitching the Sweet Baby version, which is a baby sampler. But I didn't, these colors were a little too peachy, pinky, rosy, whatever for me. So I did a color conversion. I won't tell what those are now, but I did post on Facebook, in Stitch Mania, in Fans of Blackbird Designs, and in Soulful Stitchers. In those 3 groups, I posted my conversion, and it's also on my Instagram at Felicity Stitches, and I talk about the colors. So, and it pretty much, once you look at the colors, you'll know exactly which ones were used where. But if you don't know and you want to know, just ask me and I will tell you. But here's the almost finished piece, and I love it. This is baby's name. 1/1. It's everywhere, people. 1/1 is the latest craze. It's back in fashion. It's like bell bottoms. And, you know, so there's this little Quaker flower type thing here, and it's the only one. I'm going to do baby's birthday here. Do you think that's out of place? Should I get rid of that? Because it's the only, then this is the only corner with negative space. And do you think that's all right? I know it's going to drive Abby nuts, because it's not symmetrical. And I'm all about symmetry, girl. Trust me. That's why I'm struggling with it. But I can't decide if it's okay or if it's not okay or what I should do. So let me know your thoughts if you have any. But that's it. I just have to put in the date and we'll be good to go. I love it. So that's that. And then, there, I'll just put that, give you something to stare at, people. That's it for whips and stuff. So now let's talk about new starts. And this is where we're going to get into our 1/1 conversation, okay? This is Brenda Gervais. Gervais. Every time I watch Michele, Farm Girl, and she says Brenda's name, she'll say Brenda Gervais. Gervais. And I do the same exact thing, because do you say it like the French-ish way? What's the correct pronunciation? It's probably Gervais. Gervais would be like with an E on the end, right? I have no idea. But I feel you, Mama. I totally feel you. I have no idea. So this is lesson number 1 of the Summer Schoolhouse series, Lessons in ABCDarian. And my expectations of this were that we were also going to learn, I don't know, technique, history, something about over 1 stitching, ABCDarian, little tiny pieces. I don't know. I thought we were going to learn a bunch of things because it says lessons, right? School. But we really, there's no, you have to teach yourself. Okay? So here's the deal. Oh, that's my knee. I'm not wearing pants. So, we're going to cut that out. So here's my progress. I had posted on Instagram that I was going to treat myself to a new start. You can barely see it because it's very close in color to the fabric that I'm using. This is sunflower seed, 30 count legacy linen. A couple of things that I've learned. Number 1, I don't really like doing over 1 on anything smaller than probably 28 count because the weave is too tight and I feel like my stitches don't look like stitches, they just look like globs. But I really like it being super duper tiny. Do you know what I mean? Like if I could do over 1 on like 40 count, I would try it. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are about the whole over 1 thing. But here's what I learned. I thought that there must be some sort of special technique for stitching over 1. And so I consulted all of the experts that I had at my disposal to try and figure this out. I contacted Michele from Farm Girl because I knew she was stitching it and I knew she was stitching it on linen and I wanted to sort of pick her brain about how she was doing it. Was she having trouble? She thought she hated it. Whatever. Then I see her post on Instagram. It's finished and it's gorgeous. It doesn't look like, well, first of all, it doesn't look anything like mine did. That, what I showed you had been, that was the 3rd time I had ripped it out. Then I contacted Nicole from Nicole's Needlework, who was also stitching this using a technique that she learned from somebody, and I can't remember that person's name. I'm really sorry. But it was very much like sort of a continental tent stitch. So you come up in the lower left and go down in the lower right as you're moving toward your left. So you get a lot more coverage in the back. it ends up making like a really weird sort of long wonky leg on the back of your work. And I had seen a video of a sewing method by Pat Carson, and you can find that video on Facebook. Search Pat Carson and you'll find it. She also did a really cool video recently of how to thread a needle, how she threads a needle, and it's strange and wonderful. And I haven't tried it, so I don't know if it works. But I was trying to do this sewing method so that I could stitch without dealing with the back of my work, and I wanted to stitch in hand, and I thought this would be authentic schoolgirl sampler style stitching. I mean, I don't really know. I had the hardest time getting things correct, like getting my stitches to look even, getting my tension to be the same. I would do a row, and Nicole says, you do all the bottom leg this way and then all the top leg back this way. And no, I know that's not how you're supposed to stitch with variegated threads, but honestly, Abby told me she does the same thing, and it really doesn't mess up your variegation that much. And so, fine. And I looked at Nicole's, and hers looks amazing, and that's how she stitched hers. So I tried it. I even contacted a woman named Sandy who is part of my open stitch group at my local needlework shop, and she stitches in hand and is working on I think it's called a Mother's Sampler by OriTM. It's beautiful. And so I thought I'd pick her brain a little bit. Everybody was so supportive, but just, was basically saying it looks fine. I don't, you just gotta basically, Nicole was like, just step away from it and you'll find, do more of it and you'll find that you like it. And then I there's a woman on Instagram, and her Instagram is Susan_414. Susan_414. She stitches everything 1/1. Everything. And it's all impeccable. It's all beautiful, and she's fast. She's so fast. So I thought, she must have the secret. I need to know, what is the secret? How are you guys doing this? How do you do this? How can I be good? And the thing is that I don't really know the answer. I haven't figured it out, but I got really frustrated. I'm going to tell you what I did. I said, well, I can't seem to find the magic way to stitch 1/1, so I'm going to go back to what I feel the most comfortable with. So I popped that sucker in a hoop, put it in my Lowry stand so I could stitch two-handed, and I went back to Vonna's method, which is, she has a video, a tutorial. Don't take this as the tutorial because it's not. I'm just sort of giving you a brief example. She gives a very good tutorial. So if this is your needle, okay, pointy side, that's the point of the needle, and this is, say, the eye of the needle. And then this is your fabric. So you go down with the point and up with the eye. Stabbing method. Down with the point, up with the eye. Down with the point, up with the eye. Your needle never twists. You don't have to bend your wrists. You don't have to move around because you're two-handed. So you're literally dominant hands underneath, receiving the needle, pushing it up. Top hand picks it up, pushes it down. Bottom hand. So it's very small motions. So it really does save your wrists and your fingers and stuff. And I gotta tell you, I left all the other stitching in and I just tried this because I wanted to see how it compares, and I felt like that row of stitches looked the best. I'm going to put a picture in here so that you can see what I'm talking about. Do you see that? Like, that bottom row is, the tension's even. They're all laying exactly the same. I think it is pronouncedly, is that a word? I think that it is dramatically different compared to all the different ways I was trying to stitch. So it's either one of two things. Either you just have to go with what you're most comfortable with, and I am now most comfortable with Vonna's method, or Vonna Pfeiffer is a genius and it's all about her technique. It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. So I sent this picture to her because I wanted her to see, and I told her about, my frustrating day, and I was trying to do this, and I said, we really need to come up with, I think she should trademark it, you know what I mean? I think we need to come up with a name for it. So, she does all of her work in her basement. She calls it the finishing cave. And she lives in Indiana, I think, which is Midwest. She's Midwest like me. And so I joked with her that I wanted to rename it something along the lines of the Continental Tent Stitch, but we would call it the Midwest Cave Stitch, or we could call it Pfeiffering, or we could call it the Vonna, or I don't know, the Vonna Pfeiffer eyes up stitch. I have no idea. I don't know, but it made her giggle, and that was enough for me. And I just, she's kind of brilliant, and I don't know where she came up with it. She came up with it on her own. I don't know how she came up with it. It's certainly not something you're going to go to the Royal School of Needlework and they're going to say, oh yeah, people have been stitching that way for ages. I don't think so. And if by some insanely crazy fluke, Nicola Parkman is watching this and of the proper way to stitch, because the thing is that I don't know if you guys are like me, but I want to be able to stitch all of the things in all of the ways. Do you know what I mean? So if something should be stitched in hand or whatever, I would really like to be able to stitch something in hand just as beautifully as I can stitch something in a hoop or a frame, a scroll frame. And I would like to be able to do the sewing method as nicely as I can do the stabbing method. I want to be good at all. I want to be all good at all the things in all the ways. Right now, I'm just really only good with one thread doing Vonna's technique. So that's going to have to be good enough for right now. And that's okay. That's my 1/1 debacle. So we'll get back to that at some point. I know the other ones are coming out soon, so I really would like to get cracking on that one, but I don't know, people's school is intense right now. And I'm changing. I'm just finishing up my pediatric rotation, and I'm about to go into OB. And the thing is, apparently, so I was in pediatrics for 2 months. It's like the busy season because it's summer. So all the kids are off of school, and that's when they're having all of their surgeries. OB, the busy season is apparently August and September, which is when I'm going to be there because I guess everybody makes babies in the wintertime when there's nothing else to do. So I'm just going to be very busy. And that means that there's not a whole lot of time while you're at clinicals to do things like study. Normally I could grab, 5 or 10 minutes here or there, and I could do some power studying kind of. And now I can't do that because I'm focused on clinicals, and it doesn't ever stop. There's never a break. So studying happens outside of clinicals, and that means that there's not a whole lot of time for stitching. The next thing we're going to talk about is haul. And this is really sort of the end of it. So if you're not into haul, this is what everybody says. If you're not into haul, go ahead and you can shut me off right now. But honestly, why aren't you into haul? I mean, I get it if you have to stick to a budget, but just because you see something that somebody else is buying doesn't mean that you have to buy it. I mean, believe me, I understand fear of missing out is extremely real. But I don't know. I love the haul parts. When am I ever going to find all the things that I have to stitch if I don't watch your hauls? So here's my hauls. Okay, so if you remember, I got the antique animal sampler inspired by Emily C of Eclectic Possessions. And no, that is not a snake. I thought it was a snake in my last video. It's an S, but I've decided that I'm actually going to stitch it and make it a snake, and then it'll sort of look like it's chasing the silly monster that's chasing the bird, and it'll be just perfect. Well, if you remember, Emily had given me her conversion for her threads that she's using, and I think she just pulled out a stash because she's on the go and brilliant like that. And so I'm going to try to do this so that you can see them along with the fabric that I got, because I don't want to hold them all up, you know, one by one or whatever. But that's them. Fairly true to color. These two are my favorite. It's like this blue aqua, sort of deep aqua, and then this, I don't know if I had picked this one out myself, Lagoon it's called. It's like a teal and green, and it's very pretty. So these are very, I mean, are those EmilyC colors or what? They're like rich and dark and earthy and gorgeous. So I'm excited to stitch that. I'm really excited to stitch that. And then I bought this fabric to stitch it on. This is 40 count mallow. Can you see that? It's not modeled or anything like that, but it does sort of have almost like a tweeding. Mallow, M-A-L-L-O-W, like marshmallow. I had always thought people were saying mellow. Maybe they are saying mellow. Maybe there's another one that's called mellow. But yeah, just, and I don't know, I thought, like, do I want to over dye this, or am I going to leave it the way it is? I think if I'm going to start it this year, I might just leave it the way it is, because ain't nobody got time to be dyeing things all the time. And then the next thing that I have some haul for, I had purchased this actual pattern. I had purchased a while ago, so it's not new to me, but it was one that I had seen McKenna pick up and show off. This is Spanish Sampler 4-Season Series Spring by OriTM. And the birds are pretty, right? But what I love that border. I love the, ooh, that's good. I love all of the different borders together, creating one big border. I think that's really pretty. But I don't really like the colors. So this is what I think is amazing. Not really amazing, but you can shop online, right? And it's great. It's instant gratification. Stick it in your cart. Email comes to you. Your stuff is on its way. Fabulous. But if you want some customer service, right? You got to go to your local needlework shop. I mean, they have real, actual people there. And my needlework shop, the Crafty You, is amazing. The women that work there are some of the most knowledgeable and most helpful people I've ever come across. And I cannot say enough good things about it. So I was there and purchased that pattern and wanted to do a conversion of some kind. And so she helped me pick out threads and fabric. So the fabric I picked out is, this is called Vintage Flagstone. And I think it's by Legacy Linen. And, you know, it really doesn't. I mean, that's what it looks like, which is not a whole lot of anything. there's modeling, but it's very, very, very subtle. And it's just a neutral. Do you know what I mean? Kind of a neutral, but on the cool side. And so now I'm going to show you try to show you the conversion. She helped me pick out all of these threads. So what we did was we pulled all the threads that were called for, and then we tried to find a DMC equivalent or something better. And that's what we came up with. And you know, now that I'm looking at it, the purples and stuff, don't those totally look like the purples in my sampler? I think I have a taste that I didn't realize I had. But that's the flosses, and I think they're so pretty. And I like them better than the other ones, and so I'm very happy. So I have that, should I choose to stitch it, or should McKenna decide she wants to do a stitch along with me. And then the other thing that I got to go into my willow tree and sheep room to be created at a later date is this Carriage House Samplings the willow tree sampler. I love this. I love it so much. And it's, I mean, look at it. It's very simple. But I love the birds. I love the little bird houses. I love that willow tree. I just think it's very pretty. It's simple, but I like it. So that's that. And in, I don't know if this is I'll have to do some research. I don't know. And then look, it's so cool because on the back of this, it shows you other designs that they've done. And I know that Lindy Stitches did this one, or is going to do this one. I love this one. This one's cute, right? And there's Map of Hawk Run Hollow, which of all the Hawk Run Hollow themed things, the map is my favorite, honestly. And then just a little bit more haul. I got these little tacks to go in my little needlepoint frames I bought. Vonna had mentioned that it was good for when you're doing little teeny tiny stitching. You could just tack them in and you don't have to worry about having excess fabric. And it came with like a tack extractor and a tack pusher inner. Does anybody have a kit like this? Vonna, do you have a kit like this? I don't know. I got it on Amazon. It wasn't expensive. And then I got a Christmas pickle, which I believe is a German tradition. You hide the Christmas pickle in the Christmas tree, and whoever finds it gets an extra gift. And we didn't have a Christmas pickle, and I sort of felt like that would be kind of fun. And I'd always wanted to stitch a Mill Hill kit, and I never have. And I thought, well, it's kind of small, so there's all the little goodies. It's very green. It's very pickly. And then the last thing I purchased was this book here by Karen Barbet. Barbet? I think Barbet. Color Confident Stitching. And it's really about color theory, and there's some projects in here that she talks about. Look how cute this is. It's like how to embellish like the sleeve of a sweater. Super cute stuff. helps you come up with color palettes and things like that. A lot of DMC and like how they come up with color palettes. So you take like, you have a picture and you take the colors out of the picture, and that's how you come up with your palette. I don't know, so interesting. And I feel like some people just know how to do this in their brain and I don't, and I wanted something to go with it to help me refer to, maybe be inspired by. So that's it. That's all I've got. We're almost at an hour and I'm trying to keep it under. So I want to thank you all for joining me again. And if you made it this far, you're amazing. I can't believe that you sat with me for a whole hour. I'm so glad that I got a chance to make another video. Hopefully I'll be able to get it posted here and we can continue on. But until the next time that I see you, I hope that you have peace in your heart and are able to find time to have a needle and fabric in hand, get your stitching in, feel good about life, hang in there.